Folks, welcome to this episode of the Fabricators Coach podcast. I'm your host, Ed Young, and I'm really happy to have Stephen Albers with us today. Stephen is the owner of the Countertop Marketing Company. And Stephen, can you just first off, welcome, glad to have you here.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Great, always glad to talk with you. We have a lot of good conversations and always enjoy them. This one we're going to put on a podcast and let folks hear what we got to say here. An idea, of course, is to give the listeners something that's of value for them. But before we get into that, can you kind of, in case folks don't know who you are, kind of tell them who you are and what you and your team do?
Yeah, 100%. So I own the Countertop Marketing Company. We work with fabricators and countertop shops all over the US, a couple in Canada. And we started about, I'd say December or like fall 2019. We used to work with kitchen and bath remodelers, doing similar things, helping them with their website, Google Ads, all that stuff. And we found that with the kitchen and bath remodelers, their schedule would fill up. They couldn't they couldn't. There was not that they were getting too many leads, but like their schedule fill up for 6 months and then they were just booked up. They couldn't do anything else. So we had a couple of shops at that time. I have a little bit of experience in the past with my father. He was a kitchen and bath remodeler. Did Formica back in the day, laminate countertops, not stone. So again, knew a little bit. But we started working with a couple of shops. Like I said, 2019, then 2020 hit. So of course, COVID, the rush of jobs came in, so it just changed the industry a little bit. But we did start to get more clients. And then, now we work with 55 plus shops. We again help them with as little as just getting a good solid website up, CRM system, to full blown helping them with SEO, Google rankings, tracking, all of that. So really anything that they do online, helping them get more retail countertop jobs is really our focus. And that's about it. We've been doing it and been pretty successful with it.
Yeah, I see your post on Facebook a lot. You've presented at Tice coverings and you're active with Rockheads, very active with USFA. So you've got a lot of exposure out there. Sounds like a lot of the things that you're doing are really the essential things that a business this day and age kind of has to have. If you don't
Yeah.
have a website, if you don't have to be an expert on SEO, but if you're not even aware of what that looks like, if you're not doing something in social media, if you're not using a CRM, I mean, if you're not doing those kind of things, then you got to kind of wonder, all right, what's the focus of your business, you know?
Yeah.
It's if you want to have a growing, thriving business in this day and time, those are pretty much essentials.
Yeah. Yeah. You need, it's interesting. We had a shop, I'm just trying to think. I don't know, it was a couple of months ago. They came to us, 8 million a year, didn't even have a website. So it's like that. I've never heard of that one before. Like we do hear of people not having a website, but 8 million a year is pretty impressive. And not to have a website is crazy to me. So we see that often, especially in this industry. Again, we don't work with any other industries now. It's just countertop shops. Some do flooring, some do cabinets. But in the past, when I owned more of a general marketing agency, worked with like dentists, plumbers, other businesses, they had a website, and this was like 10 years ago. So to come across, I just talked to someone yesterday. He doesn't have a website either. He's smaller, but like you need that foundation. It's like basically having a business card now. It's actually probably more important than a business card because now business cards are somewhat not absolute obsolete, but it's you need a website. Like you just need one. So yeah, it's again you need that solid foundation if you want to grow. And even if you don't want to grow, just so when someone looks you up online, like the company we talked to yesterday, they had 50, 60 Google reviews, which is pretty good and very good actually. All legitimate, good quality reviews. No website. So what happens is they're probably showing up when people are typing in granite countertops, quartz countertops, just that Google Maps profile. The problem, which is great, they're getting some exposure. They're like people are reading the reviews. They're probably getting some projects from that. The problem is someone sees that and then they see that they don't have a website, and there's a disconnect there where it's like, well, is this like what's going on? They don't even have a website. So it's again, it's you need something just so when people are looking online, they can just see you, and and they could kind of connect everything. So yeah, it's something that's needed, but something that's also lacking in the industry for just a lot of shops that I talk to.
Well, to me, a website's really a sign of credibility. I know when I go looking for something, a product that I'm not as familiar with, or in an area that I'm not familiar with, don't kind of know the players, do the same kind of Google search, and I may see some reviews. They may show up on Google Maps or something. But if there's no website, um, it's like, all right, are these people real? Are they really in
Yep.
business? Where are they located? I may see a few reviews. Are they genuine reviews?
Yep.
It's that whole thing of credibility. And I know we just did a kitchen remodel, wrapped it up a little over a year ago, and fortunately, I had a guy who was driving most of it. He was a contractor driving it for me, and so he already had subs he could call for power and that sort of stuff. But in other times in the past when I've done this kind of work, been my own contractor, flipping a house or something, trying to get folks to call you back. And if you're calling somebody, leaving a message, they don't call you back, you can't find a website for them, it's kind of like, all right, are these folks even serious about being in business?
Yep. Yep.
It's a real credibility issue if they don't have something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Yeah, I mean, that's when we run Facebook ads for shops, they're on Facebook and Instagram. The ads run on both platforms, and people, they're skeptical. They see something, it's, a certain countertop package or whatnot, and they're just scrolling on Facebook. So they're not going into Google looking for granite countertops. So it's a separate type of advertisement. They're just hanging out. It's like driving down the street and seeing a billboard, same thing. So sometimes people will like comment on the post, or just we've had this feedback from clients and customers that they've worked with where they were kind of skeptic. They're like, we don't know if this is really legit. So the first thing they do, they go to Google, type the business name in, look it up. If you don't have a website, that's like a first for myself. If we recently bought a house, my wife and I, if I'm going to work with someone, if they don't have a website, I'm probably not going to work with them, just because again, I don't know that much about them from not having to look at their website, some pictures that they've done, just the about page, all that stuff. So yeah, you need that. I mean, every shop needs it,
Yeah.
10 years ago, you definitely need it today.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm kind of wondering, you and I both talk to a lot of shops, and I know the shops I talk to, I'm hearing more and more that sales are getting slow. The economy is having an impact. Other things are going on in certain geographic areas and certain market segments. I would imagine that you're probably getting more calls these days, because people don't call you when sales are good. They call you when they need more sales, or they need help with the things we're talking about. Are you seeing that kind of pattern of softer sales and people kind of struggling to close deals these days, or even struggling to get good leads?
Yeah, so definitely we saw it slow down. So it was busy during COVID, busy for years. I think 2021 was probably one of the best years. But then it slowed down 2023 summer, and then it's really been up and down ever since. And it's tough. Like, there's you could do all the marketing in the world, but at some point, like if it's slow, it's slow. It's the economy, there's a million different factors. So we definitely see a slowdown. It's 2024 now, so we are seeing it pick up a little bit, so that's good. In some markets, it's interesting. Some markets are good, some markets are bad. Again, southern markets like South Florida, Florida is busy when the people from the north migrate to the south. So again, there's different patterns that just are always that way. But yeah, we definitely see a slowdown in terms of shops, talking to more shops. We More shops are contacting us again, where just this year, a couple of people, again, same thing, didn't have a website. So I think their shops are realizing they got to do something. What we do see, which is like not a good combination for shops, is it's slow. We see the ad price for Google ads, Facebook ads going up. That means there's more competition. And just those two factors alone is not good for even shops that are marketing right now, because competitors are spending money in marketing. I'm not really sure why. Maybe like you said, when it's good, they don't even think about it. When it's bad, they're like, we got to do something. So more shops are spending money. Problem with that is it drives up the ad cost. So again, it's with the slowdown, that's just not good factors, you know. But the good for some shops is, and we can get into this, but what we see is a lot of shops don't properly follow up. So they can get leads, they can spend money on marketing, but if they're not following up and your competitor is following up, they're going to get the job. Like it's such a problem in the industry that that even if your competitor is spending money, they could be spending triple the amount of money. If they're not properly following up, you could spend less and probably get just as many projects by properly following up with leads.
All right. So the landscape out there in general, if I take what you said and kind of distill it down a little bit, if you're struggling, if your sales are starting to get soft as a shop owner, then when you start if you haven't done any type of ad, social media or Google ads, out there, the cost of those ads is going to be higher. And I think I'm kind of reading between the lines. It sounds like the number of responses you're getting are probably going to be a little bit lower too, right? So
Yeah.
your cost per lead is going up. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's been so up and down, so it's hard. One week's good, the next week's not. So but yes, just from like you could simply go to Google Trends, type in countertops, granite countertops, quartz countertops, and you'll just see from last year there's less people searching for countertops this year, or month to month, or however you're looking at it. So yeah, there's less demand and just homeowners wanting, getting projects done. The other problem is it seems like they're taking a little bit longer to, like, they don't need it today. They might need it in a couple of months, 6 months. They might be doing more research, vetting companies more. So again, it's just a lot of different factors that are making it tough for shops where, yeah, cost per lead might be a little bit higher. There's a little bit less. People are taking a little bit longer. So again, it's just not a good recipe for growing revenue. But you have to do something. Like it's just the way it is. Again, like we have clients that come to us and it's slow. Sometimes it's slow. Like sometimes there's just nothing that you can do. It's going to be slow. So you just need to have a couple strategies in place where you're doing some B2B, you're going after retail, a couple of things that can bring you leads, just so you're not all in on just one source.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking through several things as you're talking. A lot of folks historically in this industry, when the economy slows down, new construction is slowing down along with it. And so remodels pick up. And I've seen a lot of folks on social media talk about, well, if the economy slows down, remodels will be great. We're going to be fine. I don't know about you, but all my friends did remodels when they were doing the lockdown. That's when they're sitting there
Yeah.
staring at this kitchen that they've been wanting to do something with for years. All right, now's the time to do it. And that's where I think a lot of that boom in work for this industry came from in the early days of COVID. And so I think, and just to Ed's opinion, this and $4 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks, but
Yeah.
the small one at that, I think a lot of the remodel market has been kind of already filled, and those opportunities are probably fewer. And I think too, kind of the additional point is that when you get in this situation where there just are not as many people looking to do work, now all of a sudden you get everybody starting to lowball the market. They're starting to drive prices down. And so having a true competitive edge, having some kind of a unique value proposition, something that differentiates you from your competition, I think that's really a big key to being successful with whatever advertising, whatever marketing you're doing out there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we get shops that ask us all the time just because we run ads, so we know what works, what doesn't. But some things like warranty, 25-year warranty, 5 to 7 day or 10-day installation, like little things like that will help. But a lot of shops are doing that, so it's that doesn't. I don't want to say that doesn't matter, but it's not as effective as it was. It's honestly just like really getting yourself out there, showing some project pictures, what differentiates you from the big box stores. So things like that will help. Like again, coming back to myself, I want to hire someone local to do my floor or whatever it is. I don't want to go to Home Depot and then I know they work with subcontractors and all of that. But if I can find the local family owned company, has good reviews, I could check out some of their work online. That's it. As long as they call me back and give me a good estimate, I'm good to go. But like I said, to get back to that other problem is even with my own house, it's hard to get someone to call you back and get an estimate, which really blows my mind. I just don't understand that.
So now we're getting into that realm of things that you and I have talked about on several occasions, just in our own private conversations, and that's the fact that okay, if the market is getting softer and leads are more expensive and it's tougher to get, the quantity of leads maybe you're able to get a year, 2 years ago, now every lead becomes much more valuable.
Yeah.
It's that's your opportunities for making a sale are fewer and they're more expensive. So everyone you get, you got to treat like gold. And I'm kind of wondering, I deal with this a little bit with some of my clients. You get a lot deeper into it than I do. What are you seeing people doing to really optimize how they deal with a lead? And what are you seeing things that people should be doing that they're not doing in this
Yeah.
industry to make sure that those scarce, expensive leads are well taken care of?
Yeah, I mean, you have to use a CRM system. So we have Stone Engage, Pipedrive is good, HubSpot. I mean, there's a million CRMs out there. So use something, right? So a lead comes in, CRM system is you manage the lead in a pipeline. So it should be set up where a lead comes in, you manage it, some automated follow-ups go out, email, texting is huge. Texting's not in 2023, the US, or maybe it's the providers, I don't know exactly what it was, but the laws were changed for texting where your company has to be registered with providers. You have to go through a process. So when we get a new client, we have to get a bunch of information about their business in order to submit them to the providers so then they can text. And it's all about just cutting down on spam text. The things with texting, though, is people respond to it. Myself, again, I probably really don't want to talk to anyone on the phone sometimes, but email, yeah, if you email me, of course I'll check it, but texting, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to respond to it the fastest. So the CRM system, whatever system that you're using, make sure a lead comes in, a text goes out, an email goes out, because we actually see a lot of responses from texting from the leads that come in into our CRM. So I mean, between that and having someone pick up the phone and call a lead that comes in, like, and I think you have some stats on that, but the quicker you get to that lead and call them, the better chance you'll have to actually reach someone and get a response for them. And we see, again, we don't know exactly how fast the shops we work with are calling leads, but the ones that do tell us if they can do it quicker, there usually is more success. So again, having someone on the phone and do that, but not even just once, like you got to have a process in place to follow up with leads on the phone and use the CRM system. And those two things alone could really improve numbers all overall. If it's you're closing 10% of online leads, which isn't that great, and you can bump it up to 20%, then hey, there you go. There's extra revenue right there.
Yeah, the research that I did, I wrote an article for Slippery Rock, let's see, October, I think, of last year. You can find it on the website, fabricatorscoach.com. It's called The Power of Sales Follow-Up. And the research I did for the article says that if you get a lead that comes in if you make contact, you have a better chance of making contact in the first 5 minutes after it comes in. And if you follow up within the first 5 minutes, you're 10 to 20 times more likely to make contact.
Yeah.
So if you've got leads coming in and you just can't seem to get that person on the phone, you can't seem to get them to come into the showroom or whatever, time is critical. Research says after 5 minutes, the odds of connecting with that person drop 80%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And 30 to 50% of sales, and we're talking about retail sales. If you're dealing with contractors, K&Bs you already got a relationship with, that's a totally different deal.
Yeah.
But those odds are much higher because you've got a built-in relationship. These are cold calls, retail walk-in type sales that somewhere near half of sales go to the vendor that responds first. And mobile devices drive 40% of all leads.
Mm.
So just the whole idea of follow up quickly and have some way of doing it through a mobile, text or email that's on a mobile that somebody's is going to have a much higher impact.
Yeah.
If you're getting leads and you're not responding immediately is kind of the takeaway, then you're wasting your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you start looking at the fact that, okay, if you look at leads coming in, let's say you got 100 leads coming in, and if you're waiting a couple hours, half a day to follow up, then your response rate is going to be really low. And then if your conversion rate of quotes to orders for retail is like 30, 40%, then that 100 leads may only generate one or two jobs for you. And think of the time and money you spent for those leads. And so I agree with you. A shop that doesn't have a CRM, and for those of you that don't know, a CRM is a piece of software. In the old days, all a CRM did was kind of, a salesperson could track notes for their follow-ups, and then the sales manager could look over their shoulder, see what they're doing, what's working, what isn't. These days, these programs can send text for you. They can send emails for you. You can build email funnel campaigns. Somebody fills out a form on your website, it can notify you that just came in and send an automated text response, that kind of thing. So it's, the timing of follow-up doesn't necessarily have to be a warm body sitting by the telephone or sitting in front of a computer. You can have your CRM do that for you. And the pipeline that you talked about, to me, I think of the pipeline as process steps. In countertop fabrication, you can't fabricate the top till you got a template. You can't install it until you fabricate it. You've got those process steps that happen in order. The same thing's true in sales. You get a lead. Well, you need to talk to the customer. You need to gather some information. Then you're going to generate a quote. You've got these steps we all go through. And so the sooner we start that process, the better our odds of having success. And so timing is one factor. But then the other factor is the frequency of follow-up. The research I did said that for like retail cold call sales, only 2% of sales are made during first contact. 80% of sales require at least 5 follow-ups.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that like half of salespeople give up after just one follow-up attempt.
Yeah.
But if you start thinking about, think about all the salespeople that you run across in all industries. You've got there's always these sales superstars, and it's that really small percentage of all salespeople. We think of them as rainmakers. They can make it rain when they want to.
Yeah.
The stats say that something like only 8% of salespeople will follow up more than 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's insane.
Those are your rainmakers. They're just running the numbers and doing the work.
Yeah.
And what's cool is with CRMs, you can have them do a lot of this follow-up for you.
Yep.
So it's automatic, it's quick. You set up the frequency of that, you set the process up. You may want to mix up text, email, phone call, that kind of thing. But the timeliness of follow-up and doing it frequently are really keys to making those scarce, expensive leads pay off for you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, it's almost, we talked about the websites are a problem in the industry, just people not having them and just a little bit behind there. But then the sales is a whole nother part where it's, And again, I think it's across the trades. I don't think it's just the countertop industry, and probably just even across a lot of businesses. But yeah, like those follow-up stats. I mean, 80%. What was it? 80% if on the second time you have 80% less of a chance or something like that. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah, if you
insane.
get a lead coming in, your odds of making contact with whoever sent that lead to you, they fill out a form on your website,
Yeah.
they answer an ad on Facebook, something like that, or they send you an email. If you wait after 5 minutes to follow up, your odds of connecting with them drop 80%.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's yeah, it's insane. So I mean, again, using a system, AI will change this a little bit. So our software Stone Engage, the backbone is High Level, which is like this monstrous company, like a Salesforce size company, and they're constantly developing into it. And there's already AI built into it. We're going to start actually testing it with a couple of clients. So, and some of it's super impressive. So again, as 2024, as we go on into the year, we're going to see more of that, and I think it will be a big help, at least with like the texting, Facebook messaging, things like that, emailing. Um, the calling is a little tricky. I do think there'll be like calling AI at some point. I think it actually exists now, but I don't know enough about it. But that stuff alone will definitely help. But again, the shops that use it and the shops that don't, it'll be interesting to see. This stuff it's not brain surgery, but it's also, you need some knowledge to set this up. So I think at the very least, get a CRM system, but then use it because you can get the system, but if you don't use it, like a stat that we have, we saw a problem with getting leads for clients, and they use our CRM. We audit the CRM each week, and we saw, what was it? I think it was 75% of our clients at the time that we did this first audit, were not using the CRM. So that's a good chunk of clients getting leads, but not even like moving them around. So then we started bringing that to their attention, and then a lot of them started to use it. So that was the good. But if you just think of that stat with your competitors, like if you're in wherever, I don't know, Austin, Texas, or Miami, and there's a ton of fabricators, you can expect probably about 75% of those, somewhere around there, are probably not even following up with a lead. So if you could do that better than them, you're in a good place, and you could definitely, then it doesn't really matter how many competitors are around you. So again, I think the differentiator, like what we were talking about before, might not even have to be like having something that you could show someone how you're different from the next person is good, but something as simple that's internal as following up. Like I said, if some of the contractors that we called followed up, I would be very happy because a lot of them don't follow up, and I still can't get over it. Like we asked for a quote and they never sent us a quote. So it's like, I mean, from a homeowner, like, what are we supposed to do next? Obviously, we're not going to use them, because if they can't even send a quote and follow up, now I'm in marketing, we don't help with sales, but we see that part of the business. So again, my mind might be a little bit different. But if someone can't simply call you back and send you a quote when you ask for one, it's like, there's two strikes right there. I mean,
I think you're spot on. And I think too, part of what I try to think through is, all right, put myself in the customer's place, the homeowner who's got a project going on. Let's say they're doing a remodel, and maybe they're being their own contractor. So they're trying to find a plumber. They're trying to find an electrician. They're having the same struggles that you talk about you had in your house trying to get remodeling work done. They're frustrated. They got a day job, and
yeah,
so it's not like this is all they've got to do with their time. So they're frustrated. Schedule is slipping. Costs are going up. It's a challenging environment. And at the end of the day, they're worried if they don't pick the right countertop shop, the right plumber, the right electrician, that
yeah,
when they're done with this thing, 6 months or a year from now, are they still going to be happy with the results? And so any type of execution, any type of response and follow up and timely follow up, timely response that makes you look good as a countertop fabricator, now it's kind of like, I found somebody good. They know their
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
They're paying attention. They want to help me get this project done. And it's the only sub that I've talked to out of the dozens that I've had to have for this project. Finally, something's going right. And of course, we're always at the tail end of the project, right?
Yeah.
They're at their max with the budget's blown to heck, the schedule is shot, their patience is worn thin, they're worn out, and finally somebody says, "Yeah, we're going to do a good job for you." They go, "Oh, thank God, there's one in this world."
Yeah.
You
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's which is so crazy when you think about it. Like in my own business, we get a lead. I don't think I've ever missed a sales call. We follow up, and I know there is a line. Like we were talking to a shop owner, we're like, well, we don't want to hammer them with calls because I wouldn't want that. But someone could politely say, "Hey, I'm not interested anymore," and if that's it, then that's it. That's done. I wouldn't call them 10 times a day. You could spread it out, but yeah, like I don't know, just it does blow my mind. The other part that's interesting with online marketing is or just marketing in general is figuring out what is your best type of lead. So last summer we started digging into this more, summer of 2023, and we were asking, and again, it's right kind of when it slowed down. We were asking clients like, "Hey, what's the best type of lead? If someone picks up the phone and call, or if someone submits a form on your website, a Facebook message, a walk-in," and probably every client, I don't have the exact number, but most clients, if not everyone, said walk-in traffic is 100% the best. Some of them can close 60, 70, 80, 90% if someone walks in the door. And I was like I did not know these numbers. And that I was very surprised. And I was thinking, well, all right, you want the online leads, I get that. You'll get some of those, but let's get people to walk in that door, because if you could close 80% of them, I mean, that's like basically everyone that walks through the door, that's a signed deal. So um, again, I think figuring out what you're best at, and it seems that most shops are best when it's face to face. Someone walks in, that's it. They can close them. I mean, it's also someone's a little bit more serious if they are walking in, right? They're further down that funnel. But we had a shop recently that told us, and they kind of go hand in hand. So doing some of the online marketing will get more of that walk-in traffic. So we had a shop that said that we run Facebook ads for them. And they said they had 11 people walk in on Saturday. This was this past Saturday. And 9 of them mentioned the Facebook ad. So that is fantastic. And they closed all of those 9. So even if the average price is like $3,000, 3,500, some less, some more, that's like 30 grand in revenue in one day from a Facebook ad that they didn't interact with the Facebook ad. They just saw it and then they came down. So it's just again, I think figuring out, hey, if you are great at walk-in traffic, like most shops are, what can you do to get more of that? Like, look at your strengths. Maybe we do have a shop that they're good with walk-in traffic as well, but if someone books an appointment with them on the calendar that they have, they can close them very high. So, all right, let's generate more of that. If you're great on the phone, we do have a client that he kills it on the phone. Let's get more phone calls. But like I said, most shops are the face-to-face. Someone walks in, that's it. They're selling the job.
Well, you answered a question I was going to ask, and that was, is there a relationship between Facebook ads and walk-in traffic? And you just confirmed that. And one of the reasons I asked was, I had a client last year that was struggling, and I went to visit them. And one of my normal things I do is when I show up in that area, before I go eat supper that night, I always go see if I can find the shop. I want to see it, I want to lay eyes on it.
Yeah.
And I had their address in Google Maps. I passed the place 3 times before I found it.
Yeah.
Because the way the things were set up in that area, they had to be like 200 or 300 feet off the road. Their building looked like the other 4 or 5 buildings right beside them. The signage was limited by, local regulations.
Yeah.
And it was just hard to find the doggone place.
Yeah.
And so as I was working with the shop, over a period of several months, they were still struggling with a few things because they made some tough decisions early on, and they were trying to cut some cost, and they were going to cut out their Facebook ads. I said, wait a minute. how many people have you had walk in here this week? And he told me, and it was a substantial number. I said, you've already told me how hard it is to find this place. You've already told me how many limitations you've got on street side visibility, things that you can't do that you know you need to do. How do you think people are finding your shop?
Yeah.
So if you cut off your Facebook ads, your social media ads, how are they going to know you're here?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he did, and he saw a downturn, and he's now, I think, picked back up doing it maybe a different way. But it's you got to keep all that in mind, I think, as you look at your marketing strategy. You
Yeah.
talk about, what are you good at? Are you best on the phone, best with face to face, whatever? I talked to a shop last year that has basically downsized the showroom, got a minuscule showroom, no full slabs.
Yeah.
He's training his salespeople to do everything in home. That's what they're good at. They've put together a system and a process, so they go in and they do only in-home sales.
Yeah.
It's rare for somebody to walk into their place of business, and so they're set up to maximize that. They know what they're good at. That's how they want to run their business, and it works really well for them.
Yeah.
So it's a new model. And I've heard of some other shops now starting to kind of look at that model. So I think there's some definitely knowing what you're good at, having an intentional strategy, and doing the things that we're talking about. I think when I think about this whole process, there's really two stages. One is get the lead and follow up on the lead. And that's, I think you actually could set up an entire pipeline, a series of process steps for just the lead follow up.
Yep.
But then once you've made contact with the lead and you generated a quote, then there's almost another pipeline for follow up on that quote. And you talked about kind of that concern of kind of irritating people maybe with following up too much. The research I did said that you have to follow up more than 5 times to close most leads. That most salespeople give up after one follow up. Only 8% of salespeople follow up more than 5 times, but only 2% of sales are made in first contact. I think your example, I think, is probably the exception. But if you think about somebody walking into your showroom, they've done the legwork to research you and figure out where you are and decide they want to come see you. So that gives you a leg up. But for those that haven't gotten to that point, or maybe you did that, you generated a quote and you hadn't closed the quote yet, then how many times do you follow up? Well, I think that's where your CRM can be a big help, because it can automate the text, it can automate the emails, it can put up an automatic reminder to the salesperson, hey, today's your day. You've got three people that you quoted in the last week. You need to follow up. And so with the CRM, you can set the timing for those. You can set the content of those emails and texts. I'm wondering, from what you're seeing, Stephen, does it make sense for a shop owner to think about maybe standardizing some of that content so that follow-up is done the way you want it done, so that the impression that the salesperson gives that prospect, is it worth maybe taking some time to standardize that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it should all look natural and organic. So like the way that we set up the emails that go out with the CRM in the pipeline. So a lead comes in, automated email goes out, automated text message. We don't put any graphics in the email to make it look like, we're not trying to trick anyone, but you do want it to look natural, right? You want it to look like someone actually typed this in. The text, it's more conversational than like that generic, like corporate business type copy, right? For the text messages. So I think like definitely, like there should be a set amount of emails that go out, text messages, all of that. Standardize that. Think of, but it could be simple. Like this could all be very simple. You don't have to like have a super long email. What we find, and this is just a little tip, which a lot of shops probably know this already, but when a lead comes in, if you get dimensions, a sketch, some pictures, you're more likely to send a quote out and get that job because you have those details. If you don't have that, then it makes it a little bit harder. So with some of those so by knowing that, with some of your follow-ups, push for the dimensions. Like, hey, can you send me over dimensions? Send us over a picture. Plus, what that does is once you start going back and forth with a prospect, that opens up the communication. They text you some pictures. So now you have like a little text going on, again, it makes it that much easier. Oh yeah, why don't you come down? I'll show you some samples. Or like you said, we'll come by, we'll do an in-home. I think that's an interesting, how you said the in-home works well for a shop, because again, it's that face-to-face. I don't know, maybe in 10, 20 years, who the heck knows? But I think for a long time, how can you do that at scale if you want to really grow? Because I know it's not easy to go out to everyone and do measurements, but how can you get more of the face to face? Because that's what closes projects. I mean, myself, I'm probably not going to buy a countertop virtually or anything like that. I want to go down and see it, or I want someone here to bring me samples. It's just what it is. Like, I want to see that. I'm not going to just make a decision online. It's probably never going to happen for a lot of people. So, again, with your follow-ups, thinking of all the objectives. I don't know how to measure. Oh, we can help. That could be one of your follow-ups. If you're unsure about measurements and how to do it, don't worry. We can come out. It's free for in-home measurements if you offer that. Another objective. There's so many choices. What do we do? You might, and again, one of your follow-ups could be, don't worry about if you're overwhelmed with all the different choices. We'll help you pick the best one. So like answering their objectives in the follow-up messages is just a very good idea, because you're basically getting in their mind and maybe even answering their questions before they have it. And what all this does is just build trust. And once you have that trust, it's not that it's easy, but it makes it easier to close a sale. Like even with my own business, what we're doing now, we're doing a podcast, just putting out good information. But hopefully people consume it, learn something, but now they trust us a little bit more because we know what we're talking about. So when we do talk to, shops, it makes it a little bit easier. So, I mean, this just can be done with any business. You just have to think about it differently for a shop. But I think digging into those objectives in the follow-up messages is just, a great idea, and it works well.
Well, it's design. It's being intentional about your strategy, and then it's designing your process. In the article I wrote, I talked about those 100 leads turning into two sold jobs. And let's say your average job size was $10,000, that's $20,000 in revenue. But if you do the timely follow-up, the frequency of follow-up, the structured follow-up, and all the other stuff we've talked about, then I walk through and I won't do this. It's hard enough to do in an article that you can sit down and read. It's almost impossible in a podcast or a video. But I basically walk through the logic and the calculations, how those 100 leads, instead of generating 20,000 in revenue from two jobs, could actually go and generate well over 100,000 in revenue from those same leads.
Yep.
Just by using the tools we're talking about and designing your process and designing your systems and being very intentional. And then as a shop owner or as a sales manager, managing that process. You talk about, looking over your customer's shoulders a little bit and seeing if they're using the CRM tools or not. Then you gotta, that's part of what the shop owners gotta do. You're spending this money, you're taking this time, you gotta manage the process. And by the way, you talked about being able to scale the in-home visits. This company that I went and visited, doing only in-home sales, they were a $20 million company.
Wow.
It's not a small shop. Okay.
Yeah.
They were blowing some product out the door and doing a really good job of it. Very profitable. I'm not saying that's the way to go. I'm just saying that's just another thing to think about. To me, the takeaway here is to really think about, if you're struggling with sales right now, there's some really good solutions out there, some really good options, not horribly expensive. Yeah, if you're not familiar with setting a CRM up, doing it by yourself can be a bit daunting. Call somebody like Steven or find somebody to help you out with it. Those types of things are available. They're not terribly expensive, and they can be very, very effective if they're deployed properly.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think Pipe Drive is like, I don't know, $50, maybe $100 a month. I think they even have a cheaper plan. HubSpot, I think, has a free version, but there's again, they have different pricing models. Ours isn't super expensive. So you can find something. And again, there's dozens and dozens of other CRMs. But at the end of the day, like I said, we had 75% of shops not using the CRM. So that's a good chunk of getting the tool and then not using it. So you have, and again, that may be a structure in the business. You know, I won't talk on that because I don't really know enough about it, but maybe a manager needs to oversee someone or whatever it is. Someone needs to own the CRM and either manage someone in it or do it themselves. But again, you could set up all these tools, and if you don't use them, it's just a waste of money.
So Stephen, we've got just a couple of minutes left here before we got to wrap this up. Any parting thoughts? Any pro tips? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we hit on a bunch of good points today. I hope someone listening to this gets, something out of it, which I'm sure they will. I think as we go more into this year, I just think, you got to get a plan together. It doesn't have to be, you don't need to spend 10 grand on a website. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars a month on a CRM or, even close to that. So I think putting a very simple plan together, simple, because if it's too much, most likely, not saying that you're not going to follow it, but there's less like of a chance to follow a complex plan. Simple plan, and then just start implementing. Get some Google reviews, get a decent website, get a CRM. Honestly, if you just do a couple of those things, get a little bit more on social media, put some project pictures out. I mean, we could go down the list forever, but a handful of those things, you do it consistently, you will see results. If you talk about it, don't do it, you're not going to see anything. So I think, again, just being consistent, getting a few things in place, do it for 6 months, you will see a big improvement in your shop, and it'll make life easier and I'll make you more money. So it's nothing wrong with that.
Stephen, if somebody needs help kind of pulling this stuff together, because I know this is not what folks who make countertops, shop owners typically know a lot about unless they've spent a lot of time researching it. They may need some help. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. You can just go to my website, countertopmarketingco.com. You could Google us. You'll see us. We have some Google reviews. Go to our Facebook page, Instagram page, all that good stuff. But yeah, reach out. We have our pricing right on our website, so you could check that out. But book a call. I'm very open and honest, and we'll give you some good advice, whether it's working with us or pointing you in another direction. But again, you got to be careful out there. There's a lot of marketing companies and companies that will take advantage of you. So again, I'm always here to be a resource, give some good quality advice, and if we can help you, great. But if not, you'll at least leave the call with some good information. So,
well, super. Well, Stephen, thanks for your time today. I think we've put some good information out there for folks to chew on. So I really appreciate you being willing to share that with us. Thanks for your time, folks. Thanks for listening. I look forward to talking to you next time on our next episode. And until then, happy fabricating.